Welcome to the Keisha Phillips Show. I wanted to go ahead and we're going to come to the final episode about substantial global goals. We're going to go ahead on and conclude that before we go into season 5. I'm so excited about season 5 as we talk about wealth, money, prosperity, power. We have some very good topics. We're going to have some very intriguing and captivating conversations. And all that is coming up in season 5. We stopped at goal number 11. So as we move on, we're going to go into goal number 12. So substantial goal number 12 is responsible consumption and production. And goal number 13 is climate action. So goal number 13 is climate action, but then we go into 14, which is life below water. How many people realize that there's a lot of things that have been built underwater within just the last 4 years? You have houses underwater, you have restaurants underwater, you have museums underwater, you have salt caves now. I mean, you have, I don't know what you don't have. There are so many things that have been built on water, and I don't think that that's what they intended when they did goal number 14, life below water. I don't think that's what they meant. But yet, that's the way many people have taken it. I mean, who's going to go to a restaurant and you're surrounded by fish and all these things that live in the water? Who would really want to be that far down? But yet, you do have restaurants and hotels and houses and all these things that are now being built underwater. Goal number 15 is life on land. I like life on land. I think you have a better chance for survival by life on land. I mean, think about it. Yes, you have the tsunamis. Yes, you have earthquakes. Yes, you have hurricanes. Yes, you are surrounded in a nation that has natural disasters. That's true. But water is the most powerful force there is. Water by itself can kill millions, and billions of people. Just water. So when we start talking about life below water or life on land, then I will go with life on land any day. Any day. Because if people didn't realize that water is the most powerful force there is. You can't outrun it. You can't outswim it. Water is the most powerful force. And if they don't know that, look it up. Research it. Research it. Goal number 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions. And then the last goal is goal number 17, which is partnerships for the goal. So you have 17 goals altogether that make up the substantial global goals. And these goals are also nationwide. They're global. And you have United Nations in so many parts of the world. So when you start talking about global goals, then you talk about all these different things and everything that they are surrounded by. So, as we go into this final episode, and we're talking about the global goals and life on land, life below water, peace, justice, and strong institutions, then we're going to sum it up with the partnerships for the goals. So when I think about that, I think about all the goals, all 17 goals, And it takes me back to goal number 1. Do you think that goal number 1 is the most important of them all when they say start talking about zero poverty? No poverty, zero world hunger. I mean, when you start thinking about that and you think about everything that's going on in the world today, then you have to kind of come to understanding as far as where we are at. Where we are at in this society when it comes down to goals that were set in the year 2015. And these goals are goals that they feel can be achieved by the year 2030. Now, I don't know, but when you start thinking about that and start thinking about that agenda, and then you start thinking about where we are, and I know that we are in a nation, we're in a pandemic where change needs to happen now. I do know that. I know that there is a lot of growth that needs to happen. I know there's a lot left to do. And I know that there's a lot that has yet to be done. But I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen at some point. But I know that the things that need to happen is not going to happen by the year 2030. Because when you think back to 2015, and you think about this blueprint, you think about the shout for peace and prosperity for all people, the planet, now and the future. And that's one of the reasons you hear me all the time talking about shaping the future. Shaping the future for generations to come. And that begins now. That begins now because we have so many things that are at risk. Quote unquote, it says, at its heart are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are an urgent call for action by all countries developed and developing in a global partnership. I mean, I like that. But at the same time, when you start talking about all that lies ahead, we have so much to do. And if we had started, I guess, in 2015 and had made progress, then I can see that, okay, yeah, it's a possibility that we probably could have achieved what needed to be achieved. But when you go back and you look at the last 20 years, then you realize that we still have a long, long way to go. So when you start thinking about the meaning of the Substantial Development Goals, which is also known as global goals, it's a universal call to action to end poverty, to protect the planet and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. I mean, don't we want to enjoy peace? Don't we want to have prosperity? Don't we want to have clean water and sanitation? Don't we want to have decent work and economic growth? Don't we want to have gender equality, no poverty, quality education, zero hunger? I mean, don't we want these things? Of course we do. I mean, who would not want it? But yet, look at where we are. So it's not about where it's like, look at how far we've come. And yet we have so much further to go. So in order to get there, I'm going to say it again, we have to come together as a nation. It says we're one nation under God. And we are. And in order to get the results that needs to happen globally, it's going to take everybody to do goal number 1, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goal. So when you start thinking about all these things, we have to come to a reality as far as where we are and what we can do as a nation to get involved, to help make the changes that's necessary in order to get the results that we are so looking for, needing, and wanting. Sustainable development goals, it benefits us all. It goes back to that one nation under God. You know, when we start thinking about the resources as far as where the money is going, the things that they're using money for, what about the things that we need that's going to make a difference? What about the things that's going to impact this nation, impact this world? What about those things? What about the things that needs to happen, that have yet to happen? And we hear them all the time saying in these, you know, when they're campaigning and everything for the elections, and, you know, it goes back again to the presidential election and all the prior elections that has happened. And people are saying the things that they're going to do for their country, for this nation, for us all, but yet nothing happens. Everybody have a hell of a campaign, okay? Everybody got all these points, all these things that they want to talk about, everything that they're going to do, but what has happened thus far? Nothing. So when I start looking at it this way, and you start looking at the fact that the global goals is across the globe, it's everybody. It's the nation. It's not just, you know, one person, two people, when you got 700 million people that still live in extreme poverty. I'm sorry. But when is it going to change? That's one of the reasons why I became a nutritionist. Because I was trying to help the obesity rate to change, to help people to eat better, feel better, live better, to have more energy, to live more vibrant and have more vitality, to have longer lifespans. That's the reason why that I put all these things in place and wrote out a blueprint as far as what it's going to take to get there. But we cannot get there until we fix all these things that's been sitting there year after year after year, decade after decade, that has went unnoticed. You know, when you start thinking about good health and well-being, you know, you got to think about, you got vaccinations out there, you got COVID out there, you have so much that put us at risk every day. Just COVID alone puts you at risk. I mean, it's hard to even be around somebody and they sneeze and you still have people that won't cover their mouth, won't wash their hands, spreading germs. You know, it's all the little small things that people are doing that is impacting this nation in every way. And nobody is wearing masks anymore. Nobody is saying, okay, I sneeze, I better cover my mouth. Oh, I sneeze, I better go wash my hands. I better not touch this because I just sneezed in my hands. But they do it every day, spreading germs, spreading COVID. And the sad thing about COVID, it's not going anywhere. You have strand after strand that's continuously coming out. And it's something that we can't even see. And when we start talking about quality education, that's one of the reasons why I was going to be coming out with my basketball league as a way of giving back to the community. The way of helping them to have discipline and learning skills and to learn sportsmanship and learning how to play as a team. You know, there's reason for these things to help them develop their skills. Then when you start talking about gender equality, it's not only a fundamental human right, but it's necessary foundation. So when you start thinking about, when they say a necessary foundation for peace, prosperous and sustainable world, Gender equality is you have your males and you have your females. But there's nowhere in it that says that as a human being, you have to what? Accept the choices when you have gender and all these transgender and all these other issues and sexualities, because ain't none of that in the Bible. So when they go there, they have to think about all these other things that comes with that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't go into all that. Because when you start talking about that, then you start talking about people's choices. And when you start talking about people's choices, then that's when you start having issue after issue after issue after issue, because somebody's going to be offended or somebody's going to be applauded because they're going to feel that you are discriminating against them for their choices. And that's one of the reasons why you hear me say all the time that I respect people's choices. And I do. That don't mean I like it. That don't mean I have to like it. But I respect it. Because the only person got to live with them choices is who? The ones making those choices. And as long as nobody don't come at me the wrong way about them choices, then guess what? We good. I know people that's, in same-sex relationships. I'm not saying that I don't know that it exists. It exists. I know quite a few people. But guess what? I respect their choices. Hey, how you doing? We can talk. If I'm at a function, and okay, I'm not acting no different. I ain't acting funny. I ain't acting stuck up. You there, I'm there, and guess what? It's all good. No disrespect, no way in it. And as long as it can stay that way, we fine. There's no problem. So then you go into clean water and sanitation. And you had to think about, 40% of the world, when you start talking about water and the things that's going on with water, you gotta have water. You need clean water for drinking, for cooking, for keeping things clean, keeping things sanitized. I don't know, and every time I think about Mexico, I just don't know how they have made it to the extent that they made it with no water. And I'm not understanding how that by itself is not declared as a state of emergency. People can haul water over there by the gallons, by the truckloads, if that's what it take. You can go over there with a tank and put tanks where water is coming out of tanks. There's resources and ways that they could have resolved that issue than to have families, companies, and all these different things over there without water. And this shit's been going on way goddamn too long. Way too long. So then when you go into affordable and clean energy, they say be conservative. If you're not using the appliances or your lights, cut your lights off. If you don't need to run your air, don't run your air. That's kind of what they mean when they saying about that, affordable and clean energy. And then you talk about decent work and economic growth. They're saying they want to have, jobs for all people, everybody. I agree with that. But again, I go back to the robots. You got companies that's coming out with robots in order to what? Eliminate jobs and opportunities. Because they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay you to come out there and work their business. Why? Because you have too many companies that's going through setback after setback after setback. Because they hire these goddamn employees and they disrespectful. They don't know what the hell they doing. Okay? And those be reasons by itself that cause these companies to sink and go out of business. And if they ain't doing that, then they stealing and every damn thing else. So you got these companies out here now that's putting these robots together, and the robot can do it all. And the sad thing about it is they ain't got to pay the robots a damn thing. Nothing at all. And they ain't got to worry about the robots stealing. Nothing. Okay? So that helps them overall when it comes down to their overhead costs. It helps them when it comes down to their budget. They ain't kicking out payroll. They ain't got to hire all these people. They ain't got to deal with no damn body extra ass. No shit. That's why they doing it. I understand it. Now, do I agree with it 100%? No, but I understand it. So then when you go to industry, innovation, and infrastructure, I mean, we need that. I don't know no way to say it. We need that. We need the roads, we need the water, we need the sanitation, we need the electricity. We need it. And there's a lot of things that needs to be done. And that's globally. And then you look around and you see some of the things that's being done, and then you ask, well, what the hell they doing that for? What good is that going to do? And then you got reduced inequalities. So I don't know, when you start talking about the disadvantage, you start talking about things that's going on in different countries. You're talking about the incomes of the poorest. You know, they're talking about 40% of the population. That's nothing when you're talking about 7.59 billion people. Wow. Come on now. I'm not even finna, when you start talking about healthcare, lack of healthcare, all these different diseases that's going around, you getting discriminated against because you're a woman and you may know this, or something dealing with your gender or your sexuality or your religion. I don't know if we'll ever be able to achieve equality for everyone. And I don't think that that's a political issue. I think that's just a nation, people, personal problem issue. So then when you start talking about sustainable cities and countries, and you start talking about your public transportation, if I had to depend on public transportation to get me anywhere, I wouldn't go. If it ain't within walking distance, I wouldn't do it. Because I'm not getting on no fucking bus. Okay? I'm not. And I'm not going to knock nobody that do. But when you start talking about things like that, then I know personally that these things are being pulled down. I'm not even on a bus transportation route when it comes down to, like, if I needed to catch the city bus or whatever they call them things to get somewhere. It ain't even on my route. No way close enough for me to even get to one. And the sad thing about it is, are you serious? I was in my 20s and I was driving a BMW and a damn Land Cruiser. I was doing better in my 20s than what I am doing today. And my oldest is 27 years old. Because that's the way that people have been pulling shit down. And I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that. Because that goes to show you that we're not thriving. This nation is not rising. That everything is being pulled down, 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 down. And I'm in a state that's already below sea level. What you gonna pull it down to? And then you wonder why these tsunamis and all these things are forming. Then we go into responsible consumption and production. They just want you to recycle. I don't know no other way. You got climate action. So when you start talking about climate action, which affects everybody globally, I don't care who you are, where you at, every shape, every country, everything, it is impacted in some form, some way by climate change. It is. And if they don't fix it, we're going to have a crisis. And I mean a crisis that's way beyond me in this conversation right now. So moving on to goal number 14, you start going into life below water. They want you to keep the oceans clean. Well, I'm in Louisiana, and in this state where I'm in, the water is in that Mississippi River. And I tell you what, that's nice. So, it's not. So, we talking about life on land. You got all the biodiversity. It's like when you start talking about life on land, and you start talking about conserving life on land, and then you start talking about your ecosystems, you start talking about the forest, and then when you start talking about your forest and things like that, what's causing all these wildfires? What causes what they gonna say, the heat? The sun. Because it got too dry. So that's causing wildfires and all these things. I mean, so you got to start thinking about that as a nation, you're going to have crisis because of climate change, pollution, biodiversity, and all these things, because this is globally, okay? And when you start thinking about 1/5 of the earth's land is degraded, then think about that. I mean, you think about India, think about Russia, think about all these things that can be at risk. Nobody is looking at things in the full effect of what? The way that it really should be. I'm sorry, y'all. I mean, when I start getting into things like this, it really, really infuriates me. Okay, then you want to go into peace, justice, and strong institutions. Stand up for human rights. But then we got wars going on. Then you got y'all kind of things that's going on. And it affects so many people's lives. This war need to end. There is not going to ever have no peaceful resolution when it comes to what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. I'm sorry, but it's not. So then you go into partnerships. I don't know what it's going to take. But when you're looking at, they say by the time we do all these things, it should create over 380 million new jobs by 2030. I don't know where them jobs are going to come in at, because you're going to have so many businesses, industries that's going to go under. You're going to have so many companies that's going to go out of business within the next 5 years. So there's no way possible that these things going to be the way that they anticipated. Now, maybe in 2015, it looked like 20 years, setting a 20-year goal was just the obvious thing to do. But look at where we're at. In 2024, we're no closer to achieving these goals today than what they were when they sat down in 2015 and decided to do the substantial goals. I have even taken times where I done pulled up the substantial goals, and I've made donations, and I done tried to get other people to make donations and everything else. No, it's just not happening like it should. I'm all for fundraisers. I'm all for supporting certain charities and things like that, making a difference, taking a stand. But it takes more than one person, 2 people, 3 people to stand on a platform to say they give a damn. It does. It really does. So when I come to the conclusion, this is all that we're going to go into when it comes down to the 17 substantial goals. I hope that you have come to a better understanding of some of the things that's going on in our nation, some of the things that needs to happen, and some of the things in which, action in which they have taken place in order to try to get some of the things done. I am very adamant when it comes to certain things that need to be done. I mean, I'm not no high-level political female. I mean, it was one point in a time where I couldn't stand politics. I didn't want to discuss politics or anything with nobody. But then it got to the point to where it was like the things that was happening, things that was going on in this world, it just could not continue to go as it is. And it can't. It can't. We'll never have a better tomorrow if we don't fix the crisis and the things that's going on today. I don't care what anybody does. You have people out there that got all this money, and their money is not changing anything. This nation is still sinking. Things are still going down. Companies are still going out on business. People are still dying. You still have poverty. You still have world hunger. So it's not about how many zeros somebody got behind their name. Their name ain't changing today. Their name ain't changing what's going on in this society. They get sick, they have issues and problems, and their business and everything can go out of business just like anybody else. We're in the real world. This is real times. So the time for things to change is now. I don't care how you want to look at it, how you want to define it. It's truth. We're in these times now. Now. We ain't got another 20 years. We ain't got another 5 years to say, oh, let's fix things that we sat down and talked about 20 years ago. I'm Keisha, and you've been listening to the Keisha Phillips Show.